and welcome to Dicejesters. My name is Julie.
And my name is Dave.
And today, Dave and I will be discussing a couple things. One, why we don't rate games.
Anymore.
And the second thing is how our 10x10's going. There
Yes.
you go. But I still want to talk about Phillip.
I wasn't going to ask about Phillip originally when we were talking about this episode, but today you sent me a video of Phillip on the balcony. Well, I don't want to steal the story from you, but this bird journey. And in fact, we've been on a few walks recently, and you continue to name species of birds. And we were even with somebody the other day, and they're like, "Oh, what kind of bird is that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And you're like, "Move out of the way. I'll look." And you named the bird. For somebody, again, who doesn't like birds, I've never met somebody who knows so much about birds.
Okay, because I'm in the mindset that you technically aren't allowed to dislike something and or to hate something unless you have information about that something. So if
you have a lot of information about birds.
Well, because
I'm convinced you studied birds in college.
Birds. Okay, because if you say you don't like that person whom you just met 5 seconds ago, well, what do you know about that person? Maybe that person was just having a bad day, A, B, and C. So I need you to get to know that person. Really get to feel their vibe before you can tell me you don't like them. And that's how I feel. So that's
admirable.
That's why I know. Last time somebody said that's admirable was when I had to get up at 4 a.m. to get to work.
Stop. 8. That was a long time ago. But I felt your pain that day for sure.
But yeah, that's why I know I would say a decent amount, not a lot.
A lot, but also I have this conspiracy theory that...
About me?
that your disdain for birds is a cover-up. You really love birds, but you're afraid to admit it. Because I've seen a little twinkle in your eye, a little sparkle of joy. Not just Phillip, but when we're out and about and you see a bird, you have some loving words to say. Oh, what a cute bird. I wish I could just spread my wings and...
I have never said that. I just wish I could... I'm a very ground...
You are a grounded
I'm like
person.
A cat. I like to be on the ground. I guess cats like to be in trees. I don't mind trees, but I don't want to be in the air.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say, whenever we go for a walk, there's at least one conversation about birds every single time.
I love that you're bringing the birds up, but you're not talking about the cat colony that I've randomly have now. I have 3
animals.
cats.
Animals flock to you. And okay, we'll start with Phillip, and then we'll get into the cat colony, and then we'll talk about the topics that we said that we would talk about.
Okay, so Phillip, he's gonna be eating out of my hand soon. I just know it.
Wait, we're talking about a bird here to clarify. Anybody listening at the wrong spot is gonna be scared.
So Phillip is this crow that's by my job, and I told my coworker that I wanted to be friends with the crows because there's a tree full of crows. And she said that last summer the crows brought her bones. And I was like, I want the crows to bring me bones. So she told me that I have to feed them and stuff. And so I Googled what they like because I wasn't 100% sure. I thought they were scavengers or something, where they just ate anything. But I also wanted to feed them things that they would really like so that they would really like me. So I got them some things. And then I put them on the deck. I also tricked out my office space with a bunch of sparkly tinsel because they like tinsel. So there's a lot of tinsel by my door where they can see, to the point where a higher up management came and was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "I refuse to remove any of this."
This is making me so happy. It almost reminds me, have you seen Home Alone 2?
I don't like Home Alone.
I know you don't. It's a whole nother topic of discussion. But in Home Alone 2, there's this pigeon lady.
Oh yeah, the pigeon lady.
And he walks to Central Park, and this lady is feeding pigeons and has all these pigeons around her, and he goes, "Sick." You're gonna be like the crow lady and have all these crows just circling around.
But nobody's gonna say sick. They're gonna be like, "Witch."
No, I'm gonna say sick, but as in sick. Yeah.
I'll name one Dave if you like.
Okay.
If it makes you feel better.
It does.
Okay. So I start feeding. Okay. Phillip is one of the crows where I have seen fly because I could tell it's him because he's a little bit more meatier and he has a tousled feather. One of his feathers are a little tousled. My coworker was like, "How can you tell?" And I was like, "I just see it." Because this one day she was like, "Oh, Phillip's here," and I looked and I was like, "That's not Phillip." I I was like,
don't mistake any crow for my Phillip.
Yeah, I was like, Phillip and I love each other. And she's all like, oh yeah, I'm really eating out of your hands. So
yeah, every video you show me of Phillip, he's always flying away from you. So I think this is a very one-sided relationship.
No, it's not. No, it's not. So for the first few weeks, he would eat the food, but I would never see him. I would just hear him, and then by the time I looked, the food was gone. He was gone. Recently, last week starting, he would fly. He wouldn't take the food just yet. He would fly and land. And then I would come outside to see him, and then he would fly up into the tree. And then that's when I found out that crows make squirrel noises. I thought it was a squirrel, but no, it was Phillip. And I was like, Phillip, why don't you want to let me hold you, Phillip? And then, of course, I sent you the video of me looking at Phillip.
I should have saved these. We should throw these on like the Patreon page. Or
I have these saved. I don't know if we want to show them to Patreon.
Well, we promised that we would show the video of me with the juggling balls that hit me in the face.
Oh, okay.
So then we'll put the crow videos. The Crow Chronicles.
The Crow Chronicles. Oh, Phillip. Phillip will be eating out of my hand, though. So last week, he was always in the tree, but he was closer. He was closer to me. So that this week, so far, he took a piece of food, and we looked at each other before he flew away. I get outside now before he flies away. Usually I would get to the glass.
Okay, so those baby steps.
Yeah. And then I was just like, ooh, he's getting used to my scent. I was just like, we're going to be best friends. He's going to be eating out of my hand soon. Because it's specifically Phillip. There's a whole bunch of other crows, but Phillip's the one. He must be like the daddy crow or something.
He's the chosen one.
He's the chosen one. I'll have enough time for the cat story, nor do I want to talk about
my we'll save that for the update, because there may be more updates.
Right, and Lupin's in the room. He doesn't want to hear about all these cats.
Yeah, he gets a little jealous, especially when you've pet one and then we come back. And
ooh, especially when it's the orange
You try deceiving him and say, I didn't touch the cat. I'm like, she touched the cat.
It's like he doesn't like when it's the orange one.
Oh, I know, he knows.
He has like beef with the orange one.
Yeah. But this is our lives. In case
this is what we do for fun outside of having fun with board games.
Yeah, either board games, chasing crows,
or adding to my cat colony.
Right. Don't talk about board games. Let's talk board games.
Okay, so let's talk about numerical ratings. So why do Dave and I no longer rate 1 through 10? Even though that's a very popular rating
system?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Even though it's a popular rating system, why do we not use it? And instead we go keep it to play or trade it away. And that is, I would say the number one reason is because, from my point of view, somebody puts a lot, emphasis, a lot of heart, time, sweat, tears, money into making board games. And they could be making board games for profit, or B, they're making board games because it's their baby, like it's their project that they've been working on and wanting to make for others to enjoy because maybe they enjoyed it with friends, family, loved ones, what have you. And so it made me feel bad giving anybody a low score based off of what I perceived to be a good or bad game. And that's because you can go to a buffet with your family and all your plates are going to look different. Some might be like, oh wow, I love this buffet because they had a sushi bar. And then your sister or brother might be like, I don't like this buffet because I don't like sushi. And that's okay if they don't like sushi. It doesn't make the sushi bar all of a sudden a 1 star.
Right.
You're like this analogy.
No, at first it didn't make sense, but this is starting to click.
Yeah, so I feel that it's unfair. It's unfair to the publisher / designer of the game because they poured their heart and soul into it and then they get a 1, or they think that this is their most perfect project and they really feel strongly about it, and then all of a sudden they get a 3. Like, that's so disheartening.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that it just would be more fair to say, for our preference, this is a keep it to play and or trade it away. And that doesn't mean that the game's bad. It just means that it's not our specific favorite meal in the buffet.
Right. It's kind of like Cooper Island. We got through that game, and I'm able to say playing that game, this is a really smart design. I can appreciate some of the thought process behind the design style and the decisions that were made and the tile placement and building things up and worker placement and all that. But we decided, this game isn't quite our style because it doesn't have the amount of player interaction that we typically enjoy. Mm-hmm. That didn't make the game bad. It just meant that it wasn't for us. And it's hard for me to rate something from the perspective of being in the hobby for quite a while now. I used to often find a lot of value in other reviewers' ratings of games, to the point where if I was interested in a game, I would go on places like BGG or watch YouTube videos to see what reviewers had rated the game that I tended to follow. And I would sometimes base my decisions to get a game based off of those numerical ratings. But I'm going to give you another analogy.
Another analogy?
When it comes to reviewing games, I'm going to relate it to traveling to another city. Okay. Let's say I want to travel to Paris.
Okay.
And I go there and I have an amazing time. And you go to Paris and you have a terrible time. And you say, oh, I went to Paris. It was terrible. But within the experience of going to Paris, anybody can go and take a picture next to the Eiffel Tower and say that was a great time. Is the experiences you have on that trip, depending on who you're there with, the circumstantial situations that you find yourselves in, the random encounters that you have, the things that you stumble upon. There's so many things that you are subjectively assessing your opinion on a city when the city itself is not there to entertain you. It's the experiences that you have within the city that shape your opinion of what that experience is like. So I relate that to board games in the sense that a board game is just pieces on the table. It's cardboard, it's plastic, it's these boards and all kinds of chits moving around. Somebody designed that game, but really the experience that you have with it is subjective to the person that you're playing it with, your own preferences. Maybe you play it once or twice and you played a certain style or a way, and then you played another 5 or 6 times playing it a different way, and those other experiences were way better than your first two because you didn't realize within the makeup of this game and the rules that exist that there's some really incredible things to discover, but you just, for whatever reason, it didn't land quite the right way. Or maybe people were feeling off that evening. Nobody was really in the mood to play games, but you got it out anyway. Or you stumbled over a couple of rules, or you forgot some rules and you made some mistakes. All I'm trying to say is it's the experiences around the table playing the game that shape your experience. It's not the game itself. And can a game be objectively good or bad? To some extent, maybe. You look at a game like Uno. Like, you can have fun playing a terribly designed game. It's not necessarily that. And to give a game like a 1-star rating or a 2-star rating, whatever, I think just ignores the fact that there's so many other factors beyond the game design itself that make it fun. So I think that that's, from my perspective, why the keep it to play versus trade it away made sense for us. Because we started with, we would each give a 1 to 5 rating, and then we would combine it, and that would make up our out of 10 rating together collectively. And then I was like, why are we putting so much thought into this? Like, it doesn't even add any value. Ultimately, I want people to be able to listen to our experiences and get to know us as gamers and our style and hear us talk about games. And if people gravitate toward the same games we do, maybe they'll find value in just hearing what our experiences were like. It doesn't guarantee that they'll have the same experience playing the game because they could be playing with entirely different people, but it's just one perspective that can be taken into account to analyze and discuss the gaming experience.
Yeah, I would say that analogy works. It just comes down to everybody has their preference, their play style, and their personality. And when it comes to you, my personality is, I'm going to stomp you into the ground.
My style is, I'm going to try to win. Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, it just depends. Well, I guess I've always been aggressive in anything I've played. Not board game wise, just like basketball and stuff like that too. So board games is just another aspect of my personality where I want to win.
Yeah.
The same with chess. Every time I play chess, it's only a 2-player game. I play with different people and their personality comes out of it. Like when you and I were, the first time we played chess, I was just like, oh wow, I really see your personality in this. You're really playing defense. Mm-hmm. Like you're being very protective on the board while I'm being very aggressive on the board. And then through playing board games, I've seen that you've evolved to where you're like, oh no, I need to be on the offense or she'll eat me alive.
You've noticed that change?
I have noticed that changed. Because before, it would just be like, oh yeah, I'll just do what I'm used to doing. I'll just coast along, because that's how you are. You're like easygoing, you're
It's
chill.
like a walk on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm just taking it in.
I come in and I knocked over your sandcastle, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been working on that. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Like when you got me on the Scholars Mate when we first started playing chess together.
And you're like, what happened?
And then when I told my uncle, he was so embarrassed. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he was all like, I taught you chess.
Yeah.
He's like, I guess I didn't teach you well enough. But yeah, and that's why I just feel like it's not fair, because there was one game in one of our 10x10s, or just one of our episodes, I can't remember which one, but one of the ratings for it was really high, and it just didn't rank for Dave and I. It just wasn't our type of game, because I didn't feel like there was enough competition between us as players. And since Dave and I tend to play with ourselves most of the time, even if it can be a 4-player game or more, we usually just want to play with us too. It makes it easier for us.
Yeah.
Since we're both here.
Now, how do you feel about ranking games, though? Because that is something that we've talked about doing more of it at a certain point. Do you feel like that's the same or different than
Now,
rating
I feel
games?
like ranking games is different, and this is why. So, rating games is numerical, and it's difficult to tell somebody, like, oh, 1 through 10, where would you rate this? And you're like, a 5. Okay, well, that's a midway game. Or a 9. Well, what's your 9? You know, it's a little different. But if you do ranking, you know the game style of the person, if it's somebody that you've been talking to or somebody you know. So you're like, oh, Julie plays aggressive. She likes the competitive games. She likes the games where she feels like she's really dominating over Dave when it comes to like points and whatnot. And so she likes the heavy thinking games, the games where you need to plan things. Dave likes the quick games, quick points, fun little distractions like rats.
Stefan Feld games, that's what you're describing.
Point salad. I like Stefan Feld games.
Oh, you know,
but
we have fun.
There's that one thing that you like that is it Azul? Where you cut the game short. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one
when
thing.
You can control the pace of the game.
Dave loves controlling the pace of the game. I love when the game has a set pace so that I can come up with my whole plan from the first round.
Yeah, you know exactly how many.
Yeah. So in ranking, I feel like ranking works a little differently, because I'm not saying a game's a 1 or a 2. I'm saying, to me, I would want to play these games in this order if given the choice.
Okay.
So,
like in ideal circumstances, time doesn't matter.
Right.
Which game would you pull off the shelf?
Exactly. Like if you were like, let me try to think of 2 games. So if you were like
Agricola versus Parade, I'll give you 2.
I was going to say Agricola versus Parade, and you said no time limit or anything like that, I'd be like, oh, let's play Agricola. I love both games. But I would say Agricola because it makes me laugh the most.
Well, I think it scratches that strategic itch, that constrictive strategic itch.
Yeah, just like I like pulling out an app and playing the blitz rounds in chess, and it gives Dave major anxiety.
Yeah, well, we played a round. You put a 1-minute timer on the game. Like, how do you even finish a round of chess in a minute?
What?
You're lightning speed making your moves. I need at least a few seconds. I can't anything timed, like the game speed. Oh, the game gives me anxiety.
Ooh, what's that one timer game?
Oh, Pendulum. I do have a Pendulum.
No. The one that pops.
Perfection.
Yes, I love that one.
Okay.
See, I love that game because it makes me anxious. Yeah.
Oh.
You don't like. So yeah, I think if you're listening to the person who's
my hands are getting clammy right now.
But if you're listening to the person who's ranking it and not ranking it for like, oh, this is just like a 1, it's garbage, but more so ranking it in order of which one I would like to play the most if given these criteria.
Yeah.
That's why I find it different.
Yeah, I agree. It is a little bit different. It's ideal circumstances. The only thing maybe it's just my way of thinking, but it's difficult for me to rank games that are inherently different. Like we just mentioned Parade and Agricola.
Yeah, those are different.
Like, which one would I rather play? I mean, usually this is where I think card games and smaller games are at a disadvantage, because yes, ideal circumstances, I'd always rather play a game like Le Havre or Trajan or some of my other favorites. But card games are amazing too. So I don't know. it's just something
to ponder.
Something I debate. Yeah. But we'll do more ranking. Maybe it'd be cool to like rank games within the context of certain categories, like 5 favorite card games or things of that sort.
Yeah, because we're fine-tuning our game shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of games in general,
how's the 10x10 going?
Yeah, how's the 10x10 going? Well, haven't they all been traded away so far?
They have been. I have not been doing great with this.
But I still think this just kind of piggybacks off of what this whole episode's been talked about. Those 3 games were good games. They just weren't good games for us to keep in our play style. Arnak, perfect beginner game into learning how to do resources, learning how to use your resources.
I agree.
Doing all of that.
Yeah.
Boone Lake, perfect game for everybody who wants to win. Cooper's Island, perfect game for people who want to play with somebody, but they're like the couple or the friends that read next to each other.
Yeah, they don't want, or they really don't like games where somebody can mess up your plans.
Yeah. So all those games have perfect attributes about them, but Dave and I like, majority me, I like to mess up whatever Dave's doing.
Well, I'm liking that now more than ever. That's why I loved when we first played Azul. I was like, okay, this is bringing out a side of my gaming style I didn't know was always within me, but now you're bringing it out. But I think as well, despite the fact that the first 3 games of the 10x10 challenge were traded away, I think it's still a learning experience for us, and I don't regret seeking those games out. All of those were, I knew going into it, this is a gamble. Like, I don't know if we're going to love these games or not like that. I think a couple of them I found on Black Friday sale. Arnak I had in my collection but hadn't played it. With each game, whether it's a trade away, whether it's a keep it to play, we're still learning things about what we enjoy in a game that we play together, the kinds of games that we want in our collection, what we have fun doing, and just in general, the kinds of designs that we find fascinating. So although they were traded away, we still learned a lot, I think, how important direct player interaction is to us.
Yeah.
And strategic planning.
Oh, very much so. Strategic planning. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you so far for taking this 10x10 journey.
Of course.
Looking forward to getting into Aquasphere is our next one.
I'm excited for Aquasphere because that's a Stefan Feld,
Stefan
right?
Feld, yeah.
Yes, and I have noticed that I just really like his games.
He hasn't let me down. Well, he's let me down once. But it wasn't even like let me down hard. It was just okay.
It was okay.
It was all right, yeah. Okay.
But thank you for listening to my bird stories and listening to this episode this week. That wraps up another chaotic roll with Dice Jesters. Thanks for laughing, questing, and scheming with us. If you enjoyed the madness, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share us with your gaming party. Until next time, may your dice be kind, your jesters sharp, and your adventures unforgettable. Stay jestery.